Hello, peace and blessings. Welcome back. Today is just going to be a little bit of random conversation about essential oils, aromatherapy, what I'm doing here with the Spiritual Love Healer, and I don't know, just talking. Initially, I did want to do some videos, but I have been trying to nurse myself back to wellness. I've got kind of like a little cough trying to develop, and so I'm trying to save my voice as much as possible. I do have some essential oils diffusing that are good for cough, and that has been really helpful. And I've got some nice water here to hydrate my throat. Just took some oil of oregano, so that was definitely very supportive for me. So we're gonna see how this goes, and who knows, maybe I'll just do like a collective reading. So one of the things I definitely would like to start sharing more about are the different things that I use in my practice, personal practice, as well as like with clients, as far as essential oils, and talking more about herbs and all the things, because they help so much. And I feel like a lot of us are either not aware that these things actually do help, that they do work, that they do have benefits, or there's so much misinformation that people are afraid to try different things. So that's something that I really would like to change. I feel that there are so many beneficial healing modalities and tools and remedies that we should be able to take advantage of to improve our well-being, whether that's mental, spiritual, emotional, physical, all the ways. So essential oils are definitely one of the ways in which I was able to heal myself and to create positive change in my life. So I would love to share more about that. And it's interesting because the more I work with people, they ask questions, they're very curious about what it is that I do. So I think it's really beautiful that people who are open and interested and aligned are finding me. Well, it's not interesting. That's how it is supposed to be. Even when I talk about, oracle cards and crystals and doing readings and energy work and all the different things, like, people are curious, and I feel there's a collective hunger or desire for these things. And each of us, like, there's something that resonates with us on a soul level, whether we are aware of that or not, whether we're into spirituality or not. There are just certain things that are going to call to you for some particular reason. And so I'm sure that is why the people who gravitate towards me, whether it is through the Culture Spa or through the Spiritual Love Healer, that is why. So if you connect with me here, there's a reason. And so I don't ever take that lightly. I know that each of us are here to help one another in some kind of way, with something, for some beautiful purpose. So yeah, initially I was not sure where the Spiritual Love Healer was going to fit into this transition that I made. And I made the transition because becoming a licensed massage therapist, there is a need to make sure there are very clear boundaries about what it is that massage therapists actually do. And so at that time I was like, oh, well, my business name was like Spiritual Love Sanctuary, and I didn't want people to get the wrong idea. But honestly, I feel like the Culture Spa, which is the business name now, is the home for the Spiritual Love Healer. It will always be that. It will always be what I've been doing. I've just now adding massage into the mix. So I took a break from the Spiritual Love Healer while I was like in school and trying to figure out what I was doing. Also going through a deep healing and like rebirth process for myself. And now that I'm on the other side of it, it's given me time to look at what is happening in the world, in the realm of relationships and love. And there is still a need for me to continue to talk about these things and to explore these things. So I'm excited that the Spiritual Love Healer is not going anywhere, that this account that I have created this platform, this spiritual love movement is still very much needed, and I'm still going to continue to show up and share in the things that I know regarding, love and relationships. So it will still exist, and it will be interwoven as well as independent of the Culture Spa. So because the work that I do, right, energy healing, workshops, courses, all of these things will be available through the Culture Spa. There will also be virtual offerings. So it's all just kind of melding together. But for the Spiritual Love Healer, it will largely be focused on, like tarot and relationships, essentially. So very excited about that. I still have my podcast, The Abundantly Ever After Show, but there is also like a little inkling to breathe some life back into the Spiritual Love podcast, where we can talk specifically about love and relationships, even parenting. That's something that's definitely very important to me. And I want to share some of the things that I've experienced, because when I speak about love, spiritual love, it's not limited to romantic partnerships or boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, whatever relationships. It goes into all relationships, ones that we have with ourselves and then ones that we have with others. So, and then we also have the relationship with the world around us, the different things that we interact with, our home, our car, our phone. So I look at things in that kind of holistic perspective. And that's kind of where the abundance code and shamanic money priestess energy was birthed out of, was really honing and developing a more harmonious relationship with your value, with your worth, and of course with money, because that's really important. So all of these things are coming together with body work, basically. So the Abundance Code Collective, money and manifesting, because what I have experienced in my own journey was that it's hard to get help. It's hard to leave a toxic or unhealthy relationship. It is hard to be in a stable environment if you don't have the financial resources to be able to invest in what it is that you need. So that's one of the things. Like, there's just so much that I want to do, and essentially it boils down to holistic healing and spiritual wellness, where we are talking about your mind, your emotions, your money, your spiritual self, your physical self. And so that's what all of this is. And I'm still finding the rhythm and the flow, but I just know that I need to continue to be here and continue to help people believe in love, because so much of the ills that we see in the world, that we experience in the world, is born out of a trauma, out of a wound that was not healed, and then it continued to ripple out and impact others in a negative way. And so there was a quote that said, if you bleed on others, like if you get cut and you never stop bleeding and you bleed on others, you'll continue to bleed, or something like that. I don't know how it goes in its entirety. If I come across it again, then I will definitely share it. But I thought about, if someone is wounded, right, emotionally, whatever, if they've experienced some sort of trauma and they never allow it to heal, you cannot bleed forever. Eventually, the physical body is not going to have enough blood to sustain life. So in essence, what happens when you do not heal from heartache, pain, or trauma, essentially a part of you dies. And that's what we're seeing in so many people who are living but clearly not there. And we think of the zombie apocalypse as these people who come out of the ground and they're dirty but no, if you look around you, I love to people watch. So if you just look, you can see that so many people are just not physically present. They are not aware that they are in control of their lives, and they're just kind of ho-hum, going along with the day-to-day, not stepping outside of the box. Not that, in a sense, is a form of death. And so I really want to see more people heal, because as adults, if we're wounded and we're struggling with pain and trauma and guilt and resentment and unforgiveness and whatever else, and we are raising little people, or we're interacting with little people, and then we're interacting with other humans, we then can unconsciously or sometimes purposely push our shit onto them. And what does that do? It just continues a cycle of trauma and bullshit that no longer needs to exist. And so that is what the essence of the work that I do is about. It's about taking people out of that darkness, out of that state of emotional despair, whether it's shame, whether it's guilt, whether it's just hurt, pain, heartbreak, out of a wounding, and like show them the path through that. One of my mentors had us do this exercise, and we pulled a card basically to help, what's the word? Pulled a card for guidance on like how we help people. And what came up for me was basically like I guide people out of the shadows and back into the light. And shadows, what I'm learning, it's not necessarily all ugly stuff, because the shadow are just the things that, you know, well, I'm not going to talk about that, but sometimes there are good things in the shadow. And the thing that you are afraid of is of being loved properly, of being successful, of being seen, of being valued, because at some point you were told that you were not worthy. So in the shadow are gifts, and I essentially help people unwrap their gifts. I help you live abundantly ever after pain, after heartache, after trauma, so that you can really live the life that you desire. And I think for me, when I started out doing all of this, like I was just blogging as a way to like dump out my own stuff. My very first blog, I think the website I built was in 1999. HTML coding. It was back, you know, in the MySpace days when we had like the shiny letter words, like the welcome with the blue sparkle stickers. I guess those were the original gifts, but I always knew at a very early age that I was here to help people overcome things. And writing was one of the main ways that I was able to do that, because as I would write, like I was going through a very traumatic time. And so my intention was to just write about all the bad stuff that I was feeling. But once I sat down to write, there was another voice. So it was essentially I was channeling, and higher wisdom was coming through. And I'm like, okay. So the more that I wrote, the more that I helped myself. And then maybe 10 or so years later, I don't know, but then I got like my life coaching certification, then started integrating tarot and oracle, energy healing, and now I've added this other layer with massage and bodywork modalities, because our bodies absolutely do hold trauma. And I feel for me, taking a holistic approach to my own healing was so supportive. And that's what allowed me to make major changes in my life, because I was being supported on a mental level, on a physical level, on an emotional level, and on a spiritual level. So it was literally like allowed me to recreate, to almost rebirth myself, so that I could continue thriving in life. And I am. And I have had to rebirth myself and, you know, come through the darkness a number of times. And it's a beautiful process. That's what I'm here to do. The Phoenix Rising is like one of like my totems. Like I am here to, you know, help people rise out the ashes and shine. So that's what I love. And I think one of my gifts is that I'm able to see people's higher timelines. So oftentimes when I do readings, the energies that I pick up on are more so like higher level energies. And I've had to really like ground myself, because I can always see the best and highest potential outcome. So when I do readings, I make sure that I'm like really digging into things. Anytime I do relationship reading, I always look at both people involved and then the relationship. So because yeah, I tend to pick up on best level outcomes. And of course that is dependent upon the parties involved and so on and so forth. But yeah, I took a break from reading. I took a break from a lot of things so that I could reorient myself, so that I could be more present and aware. And as a healer, I think it's very important that we are in the right space to hold space for others. And I take my work very seriously. So if I'm navigating stuff where I can't support people, then I will step back so that I'm not causing harm or projecting or not fully being able to support. So I think that's really important. I'm going to see if I can find that card because it just popped up in my head as I was talking about what I do, so that I can share it with you. I think it was from the Work Your Light deck. So I grabbed it off my shelf really quickly because I wanted to see. I remember there were snakes and there was like a passageway. It was like dark. And then on the other side, there was more light. Yes, here it is. The initiation. This is the card. The initiation, rite of passage. You're going somewhere sacred. So it's like you can see like the storm. There are the snakes right there, and it's just very dark. And there's like ruins here and rubble. But just on the other side of that is somewhere beautiful and somewhere sacred. And so this was the card that came up for me, and I want to see if I can find yeah, there it is. I want to read what the guidebook has to say. So this is the Work Your Light Oracle. So it says, there is a temple in India that looks terrifying from the outside, but inside it's filled with jewels, and it's one of the most loving places imaginable. This represents the journey that the soul pilgrim is required to take to reach somewhere sacred, but only the initiated can enter. Perhaps that's where you are right now. You are being tested, initiated, because you are headed somewhere sacred. Initiations require that we cross the threshold from one world or state of being to the next. We are called to face what scares us and have to be willing to lose it all in order to gain a new way of being, of safety, of security, of depth, of meaning. Initiations, like rites of passage, mark the shift from one age to the next and can take place because of emotional turmoil, great loss, grief, or devastation. But it is through the seeming hardship that our heart cracks open and our spirit is invested to step forward. Yes, we take the sacred voyage into more of who we are and who we came here to be. It can be painful and scary, but once we begin the journey, we can become more ourselves than ever. If you are in the middle of an initiation right now, you will get through it, and one day soon, you will bless the thing that broke you down and cracked you open, because the world needs you open. You are going somewhere sacred. It will be worth it, and you are closer than you think. So that is what I help people do. I help them find the sacred in the rubble of their lives, and I guide them back to that sacred center, which is essentially who they are, who they were, so that they can see the gift in what it was that quote unquote broke them open. Yeah, that was the image that was coming in my mind, and I was seeing like the snakes. Snakes represent transformation. They shed their skin. They also represent, like there's an infinity symbol there. So much beauty in this card. And I think the more that we look at our life as a journey, as a rite of passage, and I think that's one of the things that helps me, but it allows you to separate yourself from what you're experiencing and just look at it as a witness, not necessarily as the experiencer. And that helps you also to make different and better choices in the moment. And that's definitely takes some training, because that's not how we're taught, right? So it's an unlearning and a relearning and a teaching ourselves of new ways, and almost like getting to know yourself again. Many of the people that I work with, like the things that the guidebook said, they're dealing with grief, changes, loss, emotional turmoil, upset. And a lot of times this is how we feel inside because of, the things that we've experienced in our in our life, in our childhood, in our adulthood, we're made to almost feel rotten inside sometimes. And that's not the core of who you are. So if we can just be guided through, and it can be scary to like let go of those stories. It can be scary to let go of the people, the places, the situations, the circumstances, the habits, the thought patterns, and move out of there into this is like the abundantly ever after. And abundantly ever after to me was kind of like a play on happily ever after. But I was like, I don't just want to be happy. I desire for myself, and that was kind of like a mantra for me. Like, I desire to live abundantly ever after. And that goes beyond just being happy. I want to have an overflow of abundance in all areas of my life. I want an abundance of joy, of peace, of bliss, of adventure, of travel, of love, of wealth, of health, of success. So my definition of abundantly ever after may be different from yours, but it doesn't matter, because we all get to live out whatever it is we desire that abundantly ever after, the heartache, the trauma, the pain to look like. So that's it for now. I'm gonna go nourish my voice a little bit more and maybe come back on, because I wanted to do some tarot talk today since I got time, but I do need to rest my voice a little bit. If you desire to work with me, I can support you in a number of ways. Readings, energy healings, coaching. I also have courses available on my website. The Energy of Love course, the 101 course, is $27. And in it, I break down what spiritual love is. I introduce you to the 4 main categories, and it helps you understand who you're connecting with, how you're operating, and it really can change the game for you, especially if you are dating or just trying to relate to someone else. So check out all those things on my website. It's JovhannahTisdale.com. The link will be in the description. I love you. Have a beautiful, blessed day, and I cannot wait to connect with you here again. Peace.